Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Thursday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have, share the video on all social media platforms, friends, tell your family about the channel, and make sure you click that bell so you'll be notified whenever we go live. Sorry about the late, make you wait, wondering how long I was going to be before I came on here. About the time I hit start, my dog came running like it wanted to go outside. So I got up and went to the door, and then the dog didn't go outside. So here we are. Good evening, Keveron. Glad to have you here. As always, and every day, good day to be a Clemson Tiger fan. I wanted to come on here tonight. Tonight's one of those videos where there's not going to be a dad joke. I have nothing wrote down. I'm strictly going. If anybody watched any of the media days, whether it was ACC, Big 10, Big 12, SEC, Southern Conference, whatever. And if you did, was this your first time watching it, or do you watch it on a regular basis? Because I'll be honest with you, as a 30-plus year college football fan, I have never watched media days, and probably never will. Now, I will on occasion, get on TV and find a Dabo Swinney press conference and find out what he said, only because he's the Clemson coach. And I'm always curious what Dabo says, not just at media days, but just in general. But outside of that, I mentioned this last week, I don't watch it. Hey, I love my go get up there and say, man, I hate this team. Why did I come here? We're in for a long year. We're terrible. The fans shouldn't even watch or come to a game. We are awful. Nobody says that. And then all the coaches talk about their quarterbacks, and they all say, he can make all the throws. And every coach says that, and this day I still wonder, what does that mean? What throws do you ask him to make? And what would be the definition of a throw he can't make? And how do you know he can't make that throw? Have you asked him and he can't make that throw? Hey there, Tamara. Glad to have you here. Or Tamara. Either way, glad to have you here. So I've always wondered why every coach says that, and what exactly does that mean? He can make all the throws. Well, if he's, a throw he can't make. If you haven't asked the guy to make the throw, then how do you he could make that throw? You don't. So I never have understood why coaches say that. So for the most part, media days to me is a garbage, big waste of time. It's a way for the fans to hear, their favorite teams, coaches, and players speak. But if you leave media days thinking you learned anything from it, you're fooling yourself, because you didn't. But the reason why I'm asking this is because, the SEC just wrapped up their media days today. And, of course, it's still a sorry excuse for a conference. That's never going to change. I think everybody out there is probably more fired up for the Week 3 matchup between LSU and Ole Miss than any other game in the country this year. There's people counting down the days to that game, not counting down the days to the start of the regular season, but counting down the days to September 19th. LSU plays Ole Miss, and Lane Kiffin better bring about 145 security guards that night, because remember, when he went to Knoxville a couple of years ago, they were throwing oranges at him. There's no telling what he'll get thrown at him this time around. Hey there, SJ Cat. Glad to have you here. And Tamara and SJ Cat, I believe y'all are new. If you are, thank you so much for stopping by the channel. Feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click that bell so you'll get notified whenever we go live, and tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. But Pete Golding is an absolute idiot. And I still don't think he'll last 2 years. Not because he's an idiot, because I don't think the man can coach. If you look at all his previous stops, he's failed everywhere he's gone. He just got this job because Ole Miss had all that great talent, and Lane Kiffin left, and they didn't want to have to go on a head coaching search, thinking that half their team might transfer. So they wanted to get somebody there that was already on staff and get them quick. And Pete Golding already had previous head coaching experience, but I don't think the man can coach. So I think he'll be fired in 2 years because he sucks. But he's an idiot, but that makes him entertaining because you hear him talk and you say, can't nobody be that stupid. Either he is beyond stupid or he's just pretending and everybody's falling for it. But he's so dumb that you feel sorry for the guy. But he was talking about in his press conference. Now, of course, he said 500 things, and most of them were terrible. But, a couple of things he said that caught my eye was when he was asked about the whole cheating thing. He pretty much admitted it and said he does it. But he said, they can't come to us and tell us that we can't tamper and we can't call kids. When you've got ADs that are calling head coaches about coming to their school to be their head coach, when that head coach currently has a job, that's tampering. So, these coaches and ADs are doing what they're telling us not to do. And then he said, let's don't act like for the last 100 years college football has been clean. So I give the man credit. He's blatantly, obviously being transparent, telling you, yeah, I did it. But, of course, nothing to be done about it. And it won't matter because he'll be gone within 2 years anyway. But Lane Kiffin gets up there really, truly much ado about nothing. And I think he was told by his superiors to not say a whole lot because Lane probably spoke 30 minutes. I think he took 4 questions. About 15 minutes of his speaking was his opening presser. And he was doing that on purpose to kill time to avoid being asked, any questions. But at least Pete Golding tells you, hey, yeah, I'm doing it, but, or the guys above me, so, it's okay if I do it. So, he's either really dumb or really smart to make us think he's dumb. But most coaches would say, no, man, I wouldn't do that. And Pete Golding just tells you, yeah, I did it. He didn't come out and say those words, but in a roundabout way, he pretty much came out and said those words. If anybody out there watches Media Days regularly, or watching it, or you like me and you just don't watch it. The only part of Media Days that I heard or seen from anybody was a little bit of Clemson's Media Days, only because it was on the Clemson radio station, and then the whole Pete Golding, Lane Kiffin thing, and that was it. And that was strictly for entertainment reasons. I didn't go in there thinking, what can I learn about LSU? Because I knew I wasn't going to learn anything. But for entertainment reasons, I wanted to either listen or watch the whole Lane Kiffin and Pete Golding thing. And Pete Golding said that he talks to Lane Kiffin on a regular basis. And then Lane Kiffin pretty much came out and said, it's not his job to tell me how to do my job. It makes you think maybe they don't talk every day. Is Pete Golding lying about that? Because somebody's lying somewhere. But I think that'll probably be the most hyped up. You'll have people that'll root for Ole Miss because of the way Lane Kiffin done them. And then you'll have people that'll root for LSU only because I think everybody sees how, conniving and how dirty Pete Golding is. And I really don't, know if there's a winner either way. To me, they're both scumbags. They claim Lane Kiffin has straightened up his life off the field. And they claim that he's, going on a diet and getting in better shape, and him and his ex-wife are trying to work things out, and he's quit drinking. So if all that's true, I'm proud of the man. Off the field, that's great. That's wonderful. But on the field, he's still a scumbag. So, until he changes himself on the field, nobody's going to care what you do off the field. Because right now, Lane's the only guy that talks a big game, opens his mouth, says a bunch of stuff, usually entertaining, but can't win a meaningful football game. And a lot of people have LSU going 8-4, 7-5 this year. Now, I did an LSU prediction, and I've got them going 10-2. But if they do go 8-4, 7-5, what's the difference in him going 8-4, 7-5 and Brian Kelly? Brian Kelly won 9 games a year. So if Lane Kiffin goes 8-4, there will be people already wanting that man fired because you're no better with him than you were with Brian Kelly. Hey there, Amber. Glad to have you here. So if you have any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon Psych. In pro wrestling, life can be over